So you're finally ready to get your first employee or contractor essentially to start outsourcing some part of your business and get help. Well, the good news is that hiring is a learned skill and you don't really have to kind of wing it. Though I will recommend winging it kind of first to see how you do at this thing. Because hiring, while it might sound kind of simple, and the steps are actually kind of simple, it is a bit arduous and it can get a little bit difficult to handle the amount of stuff you have to do. Now, at the base, hiring really is just find somebody who fits and can do the work and give them money and they'll do the work. That's kind of the basic of it. In this video, we're going to talk about hiring your first contractor, employee, or outsource thingy, whatever you want to call it. Now, hiring is generally done in at least 3 steps. One is, of course, putting the job thingy out there. Then there's qualifications and all those things that have to go along with it. Then there's actual interviewing, and then there's the selection process. Now, if you would really want to get into it, there's 5 or 6 steps, depending how, if you really want to get doing it and doing it right. So step number 1 is figuring out what on earth you actually really want to hire for. So that means figuring out what the requirements are in general, the kind of person you want to work with, and the kind of skills you'd like to have for them to have, and the personality you'd like for them to have. And then step 2 is really putting that out there in the job boards, because selecting where you're going to put that out there is part of the process. Step 3 is pre-qualifying the slew of people you're probably going to get. We recently put up a job for a web developer, and we got, suffice to say, a lot of responses. And I do really mean a lot. It's taken me hours to sift through all the initial responses, some of which, sadly, were honestly not even relevant to the job. So I'm like, why did you even take the time to submit this thing? It's not even relevant at all. Then there are the people who submit it and kind of just copy and paste everything, didn't even really read. It's relevant, but they didn't read the job posting and not really answering any of your pre-qualification questions. And we'll get to that in a minute. Then there are people who kind of sort of read it. And then there are, of course, people who are really awesome at and responding to you as a person. So after you pre-qualify, then there's responding to people. So after you pre-qualify, you're going to narrow this list from 100, 200, whatever, to X amount of people you actually want to interview. That could be 5, that could be 10, that could be 20, 30, however many you really qualified out and the people you really want to now talk to. During that part, that's where you're going to start doing and scheduling. This is the part that really takes a while. Round 1 interviews. Round 1 interviews, I highly recommend, have barely anything to do with the job at hand. Yes, talk about the job, their experiences with the kind of work you want them to do, of course. But round 1 interviews, and this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about this, is you want them to really, we'll get to know them. You want to, one good CEO who did an interview on, I think it was CBS. Anyway, he did a great interview and mentioned that his first interview is the snowflake test. This weeds out people who are, as he calls, snowflakes, and will not be a good fit for whatever reason, be that political affiliations that you really just can't stand, people who are weirdos. Essentially, it's kind of getting the weird anti-vaxxers out of your job, because you probably don't want crazies working for you. You don't want the wishy-washy people. You want people who are really dedicated to this role, enjoy doing what they're doing, are humans you can have a conversation with, and are generally people you can work with. Because, and this is from experience, and you'll find a lot of this out there on the world, it is better to have somebody who is not as good at their trade or skill or whatever you want them to do, but they can learn, they're willing to learn, and they are good to have around. It is much better to have these kind of people around versus somebody who has high skill and you absolutely cannot stand is driving you up the wall. Yes, there's time and place for those people, but in general, especially in your own business, you'll want somebody you can actually work with, can learn, can grow, can understand you, and is willing to work with you on whatever issues you may have. So it does take a while to find this kind of good personality fit. And then after you're done with round 1s, you're going to weed out a whole bunch of people who are answering questions such as, and this comes from this week's round of round one interviews, is so, no, what kind of development work do you do? Yes. That's not a yes or no question. What kind of development do you do? Can you tell me a story? Well, I started with WordPress development and now I do more WordPress development. That's not a story. We're not really having a conversation here. They just answer the question extremely literally and really give you no background, no story. So as you can see, the type of person I usually look for is a person who I can have a conversation with. I can be, I don't want to say buddy buddies with, but we can be on friendly terms, have a good working relationship because they know how to communicate, talk, tell stories, and answer questions at the same time, of course. And they give background and don't just answer the literal question asked, can read into what we're asking for and have a genuine conversation with these people. Those are the kind of people who will generally be able to work with you, grow with you, and be the easiest to train and go forward with. So that's who I recommend highly going forwards. So after you find these sets of people you're able to work with, live with, and have on your team, that's finally when you can get to round two, technical interviews. In my case, the technical interview is, of course, web development, coding, and strategy based. For the technical interview on Hurray's side, who's a designer, her interviews would be do you know how to use Photoshop? Okay, let me see you working in Adobe XD. Let's see how you do illustrations. Show me live how you're thinking through the process of design. In my case, it's how are you thinking through the process of putting this website together? How do you generally show me how you communicate on a team with this issue from some technical issue coming up? What is your experience specifically? Let's take you through a real life use case of here's a design. Take me through your thought process with just this that I provided you, etc., etc. You're seeing how they perform on the job. I would not recommend giving them actual tasks to do because if you are, that's actual work, so you should be paying them for that. If you want to do that, that is okay. If you want them to do real life work and work on things right now as a test, pay them to do that because that's fair game. If, though, you're just giving them quizzes, technical questions, seeing how they perform in their own use case examples, quick things, things that is not client work, that's fine. Give them to that, and you don't have to charge them. You don't have to pay them for that. So technical interviews, that's where you get down to the nitty gritty, and you find out how they're performing on the job, quote unquote. After round two interviews, that's when you finally get into. You could do a round three. If you need to do a round three interview, more technical interviews, more personal interviews, kind of stuff like that. Though generally after round two, you'll find out who's really a good fit, both personality-wise and skill-wise. Because sometimes you might be, for example, you might want the best of the best of the best and go forward with that. Or you really found somebody who is a truly great person, really knows their stuff, you fit really well with them, but you don't need an expert on these particular tasks. You might be looking, as an example, you might be looking for a junior developer. So if somebody is an expert in all these items, they're of course going to be charging a premium price, and that's not something that you're looking for, which is okay. And that's why one of the first steps is really figuring out what you want. Do you want a junior person, a mid-level, senior, something in between? I don't know. You tell us. So that's where. Well, actually, let's get back to that in a minute. After the round twos or round three interviews, that's when you can finally sit down and say, I'm going to look through all my candidates. I have all this information. Now I'm going to say, yay, I like these people. All right, I'm going to pick this one. And that's when you start doing your actual hiring. Here's the contract. Here's what we're going to pay. Let's go forward with that. Now, going back to qualifying people and writing the job description. You as the leader, and this is why it's a learned skill. You just got to do it and practice. You have to be as reasonably clear on what you're looking for. Because if you set the expectation that you're looking for a junior developer when you're really looking for a senior developer, well, don't be surprised everybody's coming in at a junior developer level. If, on the other hand, you write this resume, or this job posting, I should say, and it seems like you're looking for a senior developer who can do front-end, back-end, websites, back-end server stuff, and design, and write. You're looking for the unicorn. That's how you written this job description. And that's kind of who you end up getting. You're people who are charging you $1 million an hour for their work, but you're really looking for a junior person. There's a disconnect, and you, the person writing these job descriptions have to be clear. If you're not clear, then don't be surprised that you get gibberish answers back. Quality info in, quality out. Junk in, junk out. So how do you actually write a good job description? Great question. So writing a job description is surprisingly rather easy. All you have to do, and I know this sounds easy, it takes a little while to do, but plan out what the roles are going to be, what the tasks they're going to be doing in general, what skills they're going to need or you want to have, which ones are required, which ones are would like to have, what kind of level in general in these skills they should have, what your expectations for salary are, what your expectations for communication, skill level, communication type, availability. Write all these things out, and kind of that simple. Though, one thing I would recommend, other than just, what are my technical things, list out the type of person you're looking for in terms of personality. Are you looking for the strong type person? Are you looking for the junior developer who's willing to learn? You're looking for the rock star, strong-headed, and will lead you instead of you leading them on tasks that need to be done. Write the kind of things out that you're really looking for. From there, also already on these job descriptions, start asking them questions, not technical questions, personality questions. Ask them to essentially pre-qualify themselves super easily. Honestly, you can't even, depending where you're putting these things, you can't even ask silly questions. I used to ask, and I still once in a while ask some really simple questions. Hey, tell me what kind of ice cream you like. What is the color of a banana? Which that could be a trick question. If you ask something like, what is the color of a potato? Potatoes have many different colors. But point being, ask some quick pre-qualifying questions to make sure that they're even able to follow basic directions, such as when filling out this job application, remember to attach a link specifically and write very specifically my blog or my website, my resume, whatever it is, and link it in this so-and-so way. Or when filling this out, make sure to take a selfie with handwritten marker that says with my name in the background, so I know that you actually read the instructions here. Why? Very simple. Because pre-qualifying, once you're actually looking through this, you can pre-qualify, because if you ask them to do something very, very basic and all they're doing is spamming these job boards, which some people do, they're probably not worth it. If they don't take the time I know they have to do a lot of work. And if you've ever tried finding a job, I know. But the thing is, if they can't take the time to even basically read through what you're looking for and follow very basic instructions, do you think they're going to be reading through your long email of the tasks you send them, the processes that you've set out, and do the quality work that you're going to do? Probably not. They can't follow basic instructions. If they can't show up on time, they're probably not somebody you want. As an example, we had a few people who we scheduled interviews for. They didn't show up on time, didn't show up at all. It's like, how can I trust you ever again, really, to do what I need you to do on the time schedule I set? So there's a lot that can go for pre-qualifying a lot of these people and save you a lot of work, because especially if you submit a design, developer, copywriting, and especially in online job boards, you will get a ton of responses. Generally, we get anywhere between 50 to 200 responses for basic online remote positions, local positions, sometimes even more. So you got to pre-qualify those, because there's no way in heck you're going to be, I almost said the other word, you're going to be filtering out manually 200 plus resumes. That's a lot. Trust me, I know. I'm doing it right now. So what do? Well, you pre-qualify. So you pre-qualify. Some people weed themselves out. You can obviously junk those that didn't read the instructions, submitted the wrong resume, whatever. Junk those immediately. Don't even look at them. The list you have left, qualify those yourself. Which people seem sane out of the things they've written, which seem good, bad, whatever. Toss those that you just have a bad feeling about or anything. And only interview and start the interview process from the people that really seem like well qualified for the role and expectations that you have. So that's the basics of hiring your first person. And then how do you pay these people? And how do you sign the contract? The contract, if they're local, get a contract in, have them personally sign it, mail it, PDF it to you, whatever. If they're remote workers, you can do similar-ish things, though you can have them sign an online contract. Enforcing these things, of course, gets harder. And how do you trust these people? Well, you're just going to have to trust them. If you use something like Upwork, there's time tracking, contracting, and all that, and payment, all that built in. If you use other job boards, they may or may not have these things. So you'll just have to trust them and give them work bit by bit by bit. What does that mean? Well, first, payments. Payments, you'll have to learn to trust each other. So you can prepay or postpay. That's your decision, depending on what you agree on. And then you can pay via PayPal, the Easy Pay. You can ACH it over, send a check, whatever you agree. Mostly, at least our experience so far with freelance contractors online, they'll want PayPal. So if you don't have a PayPal account, go get one. Easy to pay, and they usually, not always, accept that. Pay them weekly first, then bi-weekly, and then monthly. Monthly is where I recommend you get to because it makes billing rather easy. Bi-weekly is also rather acceptable. From there, it's just building that relationship. Grow that relationship. Don't give them the keys to the house on day one. No, don't give that to anybody. Build up that relationship. That's why you bill weekly and you grow bit by bit from there, which also includes tasks. Give them small items first to see how they work together, how you are able to communicate with them. Are they doing things on time? Are they showing up to meetings on time? Is the quality of work acceptable for this level of engagement and the level of this relationship? Because remember, you like doing things your way. They like doing things their way and the way they've been doing things so far. So what do you do from there? Well, you're going to have to train them in your way, your processes, your procedures, your requirements and quality standards. So you're going to have to train them on that, which means you're going to have to take the time to teach them these things, give them the documentation, give them the video training if you need to, give them the on-job training of the way you need to do it. So you're going to have to take the time to do so. So it's a process and it's a learning experience for both of you. So the only real way you can do this is go do it. Go mess up. Write your first job posting for a virtual assistant, a copywriter, a salesperson, a web guy or girl, a designer, a nerd, whatever it is. Go put your first posting out there and see how it goes. Some of these job postings are free. Some of them are not. You can go, I believe Upwork, for example, is free, and you can start testing these things on a virtual assistant, a VA, and just see how it goes and start getting some things done so you gain experience. You will probably screw up the first few times. That's fine. But you will learn if you have the process of write a reasonably good quality job posting, pre-qualify or pre-qualify, then pre-qualify, then really qualify, then round one, then round two, and so on and so forth. You will do okay. And that is how you start. It's a process. You will learn. It's not so scary. Just do your first one. Make it small. Make it easy. For example, I keep saying VA. So hire a VA to do some very small, tiny research tasks for you for between, depending who you hire, anywhere between $5 and $20 an hour. Pick some small things. Only spend a few bucks a month. It's not going to be the end of the world. See how it goes. See how you work as a leader, because you then will have to be the leader, be the boss, and tell them the tasks to do and help manage them. You will learn, and that's okay. So that's it for today's video. Make sure to just put something up online, and if you have questions on how this process works, or have more questions, or would like to ask me or Ari how the hiring stuff work, what we've done in the past, let us know. We'll be happy to tell you more information, because this is all fun, and we're doing this a lot and helping clients do it as well. So if you'd like to have us help you hire some quality folks, let us know. We can also help you with that. See you in the next video. Doodles.